I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. I have 5:01, and we have two items on our public hearing agenda tonight. Item number 1 is about the Land Development Code, Chapter 2, related to wetlands. So let's go ahead and Mr. DeChalais introduce that item.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Oh, well, I guess it is a public hearing, so we'll allow the county attorney's office to do that.
Thank you, sir. Just wanted to put on the record that I have provided your clerk with the public notice for both of your public hearings this evening. They are legally sufficient to proceed. Your first public hearing, as you indicated, is with regard to certain proposed amendments to Chapter 2 of the Land Development Code, and it's my understanding Mr. Loveland has a brief presentation for your consideration.
Excellent. Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
David Loveland, Community Development. I'm sure you all remember back a lifetime ago in December, pre-pandemic, when you approved a comp plan amendment related to how we were going to treat wetlands from a land use standpoint when they get permits from the Corps or the Water Management District to impact those. And as part of that process, you authorized staff to move forward with creating a transfer of development rights program as an incentive to try to encourage people to protect the wetlands on their property. And what we had talked about at the time was the idea of creating some multipliers similar to what we had done for the Pine Island TDU program that we had created, so that if somebody preserves wetlands on site and the normal density is 1 unit per 20 acres for wetlands, we made it 1 per 5 for the purposes of creating a TDU. You preserve 5 acres of wetlands, you get a unit. When you send it off-site to an urban area in the county, you get 2 units, worth 2 units. And if you're coming from the coastal high hazard area, it's actually worth 4 units. So what's before you today is the Land Development Code revisions that were necessary to try to implement this program. So this is the first of 2 public hearings, so we're just looking for you to forward it to the second public hearing. We've gone through the committee review process, referenced that in the backup materials, and they all recommended approval, and the local planning agency found it consistent with the comprehensive plan. So we're bringing it forward to you today. We had sort of a summary document that explained what the changes were in each section with the committee recommendations or comments on each of those sections, and then the actual code revisions are included. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
Excellent. Any questions for our staff, Commissioners?
I did.
Yeah, Commissioner Pendergrass.
Dave, I think some of this was also we're trying to get involvement and participation from other groups and stuff that had concerns about wetland use. And how did those meetings go, or did they attend, and what was the conversations there?
Well, we had meetings like that prior to the adoption of the comprehensive plan amendment, and we had a pretty good group that met and discussed different possibilities. All of the committee meetings are open to the public to come and participate. We didn't really get much participation through the Executive Regulatory Oversight Committee and the Land Development Code Advisory Committee. At the LPA, we did get a letter from the Conservancy expressing some concern. Their concern was the program wasn't robust enough, or they didn't think there'd be a market for the units. So they were thinking we should hold off for now. But
that's why I wanted to be valuable information that came back from the groups and from public comment before it actually got to the LPA and everything. Was there anything that came from those meetings that would help both sides find a balance on this issue from their perspective?
I mean, we didn't have a lot of objections. I think they were, for the most part, comfortable with what we were trying to do, because we patterned it after what we had done on Pine Island to try to really create some incentives for using those. Because not only do we have the multiplier for units, residential units, but you can also use these units to convert to commercial space.
So the enhancements actually protected more wetlands than anything.
Yes, that's the idea, that we're doing what we can to encourage preservation of wetlands on site.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Mann,
Quick
go ahead.
follow-up to the same point, because I recall that we had some nervousness from some interest groups that thought even though this was initiated by your office to try to correct something that we'd been operating with for years, but not altogether properly? Is this the same issue?
It's related, right? We have a transfer of development rights program for a
No,
couple.
wait, you may be about to answer more than I need.
Okay.
But those groups, by the time we had the comp plan amendment hearings in that previous century, in December, some of that nervousness had disappeared, as I recall, and I think that's what Commissioner Pendergrass was referring to as well. And it sounds from your previous answer to him that there is not still remaining out there a vocal, loud group that is,
Not that we're aware of. Like I said,
and they're,
through the
we
committee
don't
review.
see anybody. We'll find out if they're here today, but okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. Any further questions then? All right, at this time, let's go ahead and take the public comment on item number 1 tonight. This is the ordinance that's amending the Land Development Code, Chapter 2, related to wetlands. Does anybody wish to speak in public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comment. Does anybody wish to make a motion?
So moved.
Okay, the motion is to move it to the next public hearing, September 15th, 2020, from Commissioner Manning. Second, from Commissioner Mann. Do we have any discussion, commissioners?
Good.
No? All right, are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. All right, and please introduce item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just point out that both of your public hearings this evening, these are the first of 2, as you stated. The follow-up and final hearing on item number 1 and number 2 will be September 15th at 9:30 a.m. in these chambers. Commissioners, your next public hearing is with regard to designating Burnt Store Road as a controlled access road, and I believe Mr. Searchy is here for a brief comment and introduction.
Okay, excellent.
Did you hear that, Mr. Searchy? A brief comment is what you're being allowed by honorable counsel over here.
He's on overtime. He's going to be as long as he can. He'll be like an attorney now. He'll keep talking.
Good afternoon,
Oh,
Commissioner.
you're not on salary. You're salary. You're
Good evening, Randy.
This is the
You
first
didn't,
of
you didn't
two.
think you were going to get all this love, did you?
Yeah,
We do love you.
this is first of 2 public hearings to get the segment of Burnt Store Road from Pine Island Road to the Charlotte County line designated as controlled access. The section from Veterans from the river to Pine Island Road is already controlled access, and we'd like to have this section as well for a couple reasons. First reason, the piece we're building now, the southbound lanes currently out there will be a future frontage road, so all those properties to the east, we need to make sure they connect on there correctly now. We can't have 1,000 driveways. What we don't want to do is end up with a Del Prado or US 41 where you have your driveway every 30, 40 feet. If that's the case, we'll have to lower the speed limit to 30 and 35. If I have to go 35 from here to Charlotte County, I'm going to take 41 or 75. The second thing we'd like to do is the piece from where we're stopping now to the Charlotte County line. FDOT's still doing a PD&E up there. That'll be a couple more years. At that point, we'll get a designer. It'll be that many more years to get it started on construction. But at this point in time, there's a lot of vacant parcels up there. So we sat down, we took a look at all the vacant parcels. We used the proper minimum standard for spacing. It's a half mile for a full median opening, quarter mile for a directional median opening, and a 660 feet for a just regular driveway. And we attached a opening access to every one of the properties. I think we forgot one, but we rectified that earlier today. So it's a template, and this is not I-75. This is Burnt Store Road. I-75 to change an interchange is almost an act of God. It's done by the Federal Highway. Changes to these are done by you. So you can do them as 4, 5, 6 years from now when these properties up there start to develop and they come in with a better plan other than what we've put in this document now. We'll approve it, come to you and say, please modify it type thing. So whatever is done today is not cast in stone. It just sets the framework for a future controlled access road.
Very good. Thank you for the introduction. What questions do we have, commissioners?
So again, tonight, only action we're doing today, we're just setting the date for September 15th for the second public hearing.
The second public hearing is slated for 9:15, but I think we're going to make some changes that were brought to our attention by some developers earlier today, and I think the deadline for that was today. So there's no rush. We'll hit the next public hearing date with that, with a revised and corrected document.
Okay. So but the motion then today is still as stands to go ahead and move this forward to the second public hearing,
Right.
September 15th at 9:30 a.m.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. That would be the requested motion. Gotcha. Any further questions on that? Okay. Thanks, Randy. I appreciate you clarifying too. This is something that will basically, Burnt Store Road, it connects to veterans, and it's going to be an extension, if you will, of veterans and this style of road all the way up to the Charlotte County line then.
Correct.
Okay.
Again, you've made 3 or 4 changes to Summerlin, a controlled access facility, in the last 3 years with different developments. So again, whatever's codified in this controlled access facility is changed by you at your will in the future.
It can be amended. Okay.
And this action tonight doesn't change anything else as far as the design of the road.
No, we're not even there yet.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, very good. All right, let's do this. Let's move to the public comment portion of tonight's public hearing. I do have 2 cards. So public comment tonight is on the controlled access portion of Burnt Store Road. I understand some folks had some concerns about lighting, and if you wanted to talk about the lighting or anything else that is not on tonight's agenda, every first and third Tuesday of the month, we have our county commission meetings where you can come and talk on items that are not on the agenda and share those concerns with us. Of course, if you want to, you can email us or call us in our offices too. But tonight, let's keep our comments to the controlled access portion, the item that's directly in front of us tonight. So the first card I have is from Russell Schropp, and then the next card is from Thomas Giles.
Good evening, Commissioners. For your record, I'm Russell Schropp with the Henderson Franklin Law Firm, here today on behalf of GA Pinnacle Cape Coral, LLC. My client, David Kraisgren, is here, along with Ted Treesh from TR Transportation. And I represent the owner that Randy was alluding to with regard to the access that appears to have been left off. Just briefly, GA Pinnacle owns about 4,000 lineal feet of frontage on Burnt Store Road on the east side of Burnt Store Road that has about 270 acres of frontage and some additional several hundred acres behind that. I don't have any fancy graphics, but on page 2, or the second page of the map that's included in the resolution, it's located on the east side of Burnt Store Road between Calusa Parkway and Sand Road. And presently, the resolution map does not provide for any access to this property, and so it's obviously of concern to us. The property is within the city of Cape Coral and has been shown for many years on the Cape Coral Comprehensive Plan as commercial or mixed-use development. And in fact, we recently submitted a PUD application for this property to the city that shows access onto Burnt Store Road and commercial and mixed-use type of development on it. We just learned about this resolution over the weekend, and there's been a dialogue started with staff regarding ways to fix this and address it. And it's my understanding the lack of access was simply inadvertent. It wasn't intentional. They have proposed some access to the site. We're reviewing it. I'm not sure it's quite what we need, so we'll be having further discussions with staff, hopefully in the interim 2-week period between the first and second public hearings. I would note that as part of the annexation of this property that occurred many years ago, the property owner donated 155 feet of right-of-way frontage to the county as part of the annexation agreement. So, but they did reserve the right of reasonable access across that donated right-of-way. They also donated a parcel to the city of Cape Coral for a fire, emergency services, and fire station potential sites. So it's important for those purposes also to get the access straight. But we'll continue to work with your staff. I just wanted to speak on the record tonight. We'll continue to work with staff in the interim and hopefully come back in a couple of weeks with a resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time tonight.
All right, I have Thomas Giles as our next speaker. That's okay.
Give them to the
Here,
clerk.
you can hand, well, you
No,
can
he
hand
wants
one
us to see him.
Yeah, hand one to us so we can take a look, and then we'll pass one into the clerk too. Sure.
Thomas? What the hell?
This is far from fancy graphics, but What we have here is a number of parcels. They're either in land use change right now, zoning change, under construction. We've just extended utilities down from Charlotte County to the terminus of the Myriad Motor Coach Resort, water, sewer, and irrigation. And so it's made this particular corridor very hot as far as development goes. We are confident that we can work with the county and the city and Charlotte County, all of those agencies that we have to deal with, that we've had to deal with the utilities. And we work closely with them as far as where we place the utilities and so forth. So we're very pleased to have this project, and the widening of Burnt Store Road has been very successful, and we hope to see it all the way up. We know it's about 8 to 10 years away for this segment. So, but we will try to align driveways as is shown in that the directive that we saw, and we can work closely. Frontage roads, dual access. We can do all kinds of things to make sure that it works well with the traffic movement and well with the developments along it. So.
Could I just clarify real quick too, Mr. Giles? Do you need anything different than what's being proposed today by our staff?
Well, it's really sketchy at this particular juncture. Okay, if we have to move it one way or another, what they're showing, okay, as locations where we're having to have access, that won't be a problem. We can move it. We can play with it. And if we don't, we can do frontage roads for access. So it's very doable. It's a ways off, and I can tell all of our developer clients that don't get hysterical over these accesses, because they are flexible. We know that. We worked in Cape Coral for the last 40 years, and we've done a lot of changes along State Road 78 as far as access, and that is also a limited access roadway. So, okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Giles. Appreciate it.
Thomas? Come on.
What?
Thomas?
Thomas.
Thomas?
Oh, he's Tom. I got it. Yeah. We know you as Tom.
Oh, Tom.
And I called you Thomas.
Well, I filled the card out. You know, I'm so used to writing that.
Being legal.
Yeah.
That's Tom.
Sit down.
See you. Tom, thanks for coming in tonight. All right, let's ask this. Would you raise your hand if you want to speak on the controlled access portion related to Burnt Store Road? Anybody? Okay, Mercedes, come on up. And just state your name and everything for the record.
Got it right. So, good evening, Commissioner Persis Zambrano, Public Works Planning Manager for the City of Cape Coral. I want to commend you and staff for joining the city's vision to have this corridor as a controlled access facility. It is not easy. You need to really set the bar, and what you're doing today is a step in the right direction. That will help the city. As we get a proposal for development, we can coordinate access. And we ended up with something like veterans that is working very well for the city. So now we're moving forward on Burnt Store Road, and this has been a vision we've been working together since 1995, you know, building the Midpoint Bridge, veterans, and Burnt Store Road. So we're going to be working with the speakers you just heard to see if there are any changes. I'll work with your staff, and by the second public hearing, you might have an amendment resolution.
That's what I heard too. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, any further speakers tonight? Okay, I'll go ahead and close public comment then.
I've got a motion to make, Mr. Chairman, if I may, please. I'd like to move this to the second public hearing at 9:30 a.m. in the morning, and as revised by staff and the clients.
Okay, very good. So, and let me, do we have a second on that motion, by the way? Okay, the second's from Commissioner Sandelli. The motion was from Commissioner Manning. And Mr. County Attorney, does that take care of memorializing this idea that there will be some sort of conversation between now and the next public hearing in order to work out whatever revision was discussed tonight?
Yes, sir. I believe staff understands the direction, and we will get with the speakers and work with them during this intervening period.
Excellent. Okay, very good. Any further comments or discussion on this? Commissioner
It
Sandelli?
seems like from Mr. Searcy that we've got some flexibility and some discussions going on, so hopefully the end product satisfies everybody.
Yeah, excellent. Any further discussion then? All right, very good. Then I'll go ahead and call the question. Are there any objections to the motion? Seeing none, that motion carries unanimously, and we have no further business before us, so we're adjourned.